In the land of competitive FPS games, I would consider myself an unk. I spent most of my teenage years playing Overwatch and Rainbow Six Siege, having some of the most fun playing in FPS, rivaling the likes of old school Call of Duty and Battlefield. But as I've gotten older, my reaction time slowed down, my eyesight worse after staring at a TV screen for hundreds of hours, and my time has become way more valuable since becoming a grown-up. I occasionally come back to these competitive shooters to see what's different, only to realize that there's a 2 next to it, and the first one is completely gone. While games like Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch have had very rough relaunches that completely changed the game, there is another relaunch that was just as bad, if not worse in the long run. That game is Counter-Strike 2. Counter-Strike is something that doesn't need to be explained. It's outlived a lot of its contemporaries and is the base model for creating a competitive FPS shooter, which is really saying something given the fact that it has stayed relatively the same for over 25 years. So when they revealed CS2 in March of 2023, a lot of people were excited for a new upgrade to a nearly decade-old global offensive. Come to think of it, CS2 and Overwatch 2 have a very similar story. Both being marketed as free upgrades on the core game that were meant to shake things up, both also took down its original game, meaning that people would have to play the sequel, and both launched in an unfinished mess that were missing tons of content. The difference is that Overwatch was ridiculed to the moon and back, rightfully so, but Counter-Strike really didn't get any backlash. Now the issues of servers dying and bad performance were expected, but it wasn't until the dust settled that I and many others saw the flaws of CS2. The game was a shell of its former self, and the community didn't seem to care because look, the Molotov liquid actually moves now, and the smoke is dynamic, look at all this cool shit, guys! This just shows that this Counter-Strike community doesn't really care about the game's health, and it tells Valve that they can get away with doing the bare minimum, something they have been doing for nearly a decade at this point. So today, I'll go over how Valve and its community destroyed its most popular franchise.
Here's your shit game, lol.
The first part of this video will be discussing Counter-Strike 2 as a game, and where it fails to be a worthy sequel to Global Offensive, along with comparing it to other sequel competitive shooters. I'll start with the new additions CS2 brought to the table. Spoilers, it's not that much. Responsive smokes. This was shown off to be a rebalance to smoke grenades while also updating them to the new engine. This is actually a cool change that showed off what the new engine can do, if it does eat into performance a little bit. New lighting makes the game look a hell of a lot better than Global Offensive. And I don't really have too many complaints besides it can eat into performance, again, like the smokes. And lastly, sub-tick. In theory, this will make movement and shooting feel a lot more responsive compared to Global Offensive, but in actuality, it makes it less responsive and worse to play.
What?
And that's it in terms of new content. Now, if this was simply an update and no other strings attached, I wouldn't be making this video. But there were some very noticeable strings. Besides the new sub-tick system screwing with the feel of the game, Valve removed over half the content that was in Global Offensive. To keep it brief, on launch, the game did not have Danger Zone, the War Games, tons of maps despite Train being shown off in the trailer, only to be brought back 2 years later, and factions are some of the notable pieces of content left behind. Now Overwatch 2 was criticized heavily for the content they removed on launch, but at least they added new heroes and a new game mode to somewhat make up for it. This isn't me defending Overwatch 2, but it's something that has bothered me that people dog on Overwatch 4 but CS can get away with it. For comparison's sakes, in the 2 years that Overwatch 2 has been out, they've added 8 new heroes, 11 maps, a brand new stadium game mode, and actually re-added loot boxes into the game. Meanwhile, in the 2 years Counter-Strike 2 has been out, they've added back a bare-bones arms race mode with only 3 maps, and Train, with community maps being rotated in and out with each map update. This just shows Valve's reluctance to 1. Make worthwhile content, and 2. Add the content they removed from the game in the first place. Did we forget that a sequel should have more content than the original, and not less? And no, I'm not counting cases/skins, but I'm gonna get to that later on. Along with the lack of content, Valve's anti-cheat basically doesn't work. While not being to the level of unplayable that TF2 was a couple years ago, it's still barely functional. And most of the top players in the Premier mode, which is also another new ranked mode that I forgot to mention, but no one really plays it, are cheaters, so there's that. And on top of that, bot farmers have also been on the rise, where people just farm for crates and don't actually play the game. It's not even just bot farmers that don't play the game. When they first added the armory pass to the game, people found that the best strat was to not actually play the game, but to only spam Dust 2 and have mollies and nades spam down mid so that the rounds can end quicker, which Valve quickly patched out because, oh no guys, they're playing the game too efficiently, and we're not gonna make any money, what are we gonna do? Said Gaben. So to recap everything, this game has less content than Global Offensive, feels worse to play due to sub-tick, is riddled with cheaters and bots, and has a more predatory monetization practice than Global Offensive. So, how do you think the community would react to this? By giving Valve even more money and doing nothing about it. Now that my grievances about the game itself have been settled, I want to talk about the content that is being made about Counter-Strike 2, and why I believe it's the sole reason why Valve does nothing to do to fix it. When it comes down to the type of content that Counter-Strike creators make, it boils down to, this new update is awesome guys, check it out! The 5,000 tip videos that are just recycled information from over 20 years of playing the game, pro match VODs, and worst of all, gambling videos. Occasionally you'll find a video complaining about the state of the game, but then you realize it's the second channel that no one watches and has an ad link for a skin trading website, where they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote. And that's the main issue I have with content creation for CS2. There's almost no variety. Sure, the funny moments and pro matches can be entertaining, but that's a fraction compared to the sheer amount of unboxing videos. Now, I'm not inherently against loot boxes themselves, as long as they are cosmetic and don't affect gameplay. Who cares? What I do care about is when the main focus of a content update is the skins itself, and only the skins, that's where issues start to rise for me. Every new update seems to focus on a new crate that streamers will blow hundreds of thousands of dollars to act like spurgs when they get something shiny. I blame OniPixel for this explosion of loot box content, since that's what that idiot is only known for. While I wouldn't mind this type of content itself since it's their money and they can spend it how they please, the hypocrisy they have towards the game is what pisses me off the most. They complain about the state of the game and how their experience is ruined, only to have a plug for a website to gamble your skins away, guys. They actively support the business practice of doing nothing and getting paid while doing it. And they have the gall to wonder why Valve takes forever to actually do something worthwhile for the game. This right here is why Valve does the bare minimum now, because they know they can get retards like OniPixel and Anomaly to promote the CS loot crate lifestyle, while also giving the impression that they are influential figures who can make changes. When people are so starved for content that a fucking animation update is considered huge, you know something is seriously wrong with the game. I know this video has been very negative, and I've made myself out to be a Counter-Strike hater, but I wouldn't be making this video if I truly hated Counter-Strike. I really enjoy the game, and I think it deserves so much better. The community doesn't deserve the game in its current state, so how would I fix it? Well, for starters, I would suggest not buying any cases or cosmetics, as that would just feed into Valve's endless pockets. Second option would be to not watch or support any streamers that do unboxing vids or streams, as they are just as disingenuous with the state of the game as Valve is with making an actual video game. And lastly, and I know this one is a very nuclear option, but simply don't play Counter-Strike until it's better. If you aren't happy with the state of the game is in, then don't play it. I know this is a very brash and ineffective way to get a studio to actually do something, but if enough people can do it, Valve will have to do something eventually. I hope you enjoyed this autistic rant about a game I believe to be truly special. I hope to see people make reaction videos to this mess of a video. Do the things the YouTube overlords want, and until next time, where I sell my internal organs to open 1,000 killer sheet cases in the hopes of pulling a gold, which I will use that money to pay off the Hamas terrorists so that Valve can add the IDF soldiers back into Dust 2.